Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to W.M.S.T podcast. Tonight, it's a little bit of a special episode as we are finally going to talk about Christopher Nolan's new movie, Tenet. So, we're going to do this one non-spoiler, so no spoilers here. You'll get our thoughts, no spoilers. We'll do a separate video with all the spoilers. So, no warning here because there are no spoilers. So, we're just going to give our thoughts on this movie. Joining me now is editor-in-chief Ziggler, who literally just watched the movie like 2-3 hours ago. What up, Ziggler?
Yeah, what up? And if you guys are thinking about watching it, you had to see it in IMAX. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah, IMAX is definitely a must for this movie. So let's get started. First thing I gotta mention, this is my first movie since March back in theaters. So it was actually great to be back in theaters. I mean, Ziggler, you can talk about your experience back in theaters as well. But for me, like I loved, having like a whole section to myself, like 2-3 rows down. Nobody was near me. Nobody was in my row. It was really great to. I haven't had like a bad theater experience before, but I've heard so many horror stories, and sometimes I guess it can be distracting with a lot of people, but this was like the first time ever I saw a Nolan movie with only like 15-20 people in the theaters, and it felt really good, like the experience of just being in an almost empty room watching this amazing IMAX movie, Christopher Nolan movie. Like it was just on another level, and wearing the mask didn't really bother me as well. Like it was just a great experience for me personally. And I honestly, I mean, I'm considering watching this movie a second time, but we'll see about that. But like, it was still great to be back in the theaters, and I can't wait to watch some more movies going forward.
Yeah, this was my first movie experience since March too. Remember that week where everything turned to shit? That Wednesday when everything turned to shit? Yeah, the day
Yep.
after that, on that Thursday, I saw Bloodshot, and it was not very good. So my last theater experience was like I saw like a shitty movie, but this movie was the perfect movie to go back to theaters to.
But yeah, on to Tenet itself. I mean, this was the perfect movie to come back to the theaters on. Like, if you want to, if you're thinking about, risking your health or whatever for any movie, it's got to be this one. But it's not like that. Like I feel like most theaters are taking the precaution, but this movie is the perfect movie to go back to. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan, so maybe a lot of the praise I give this movie, some people might not feel the same way. But I gotta be honest, man. This was one of the best like theater viewing experiences I've had in a long time. I mean, visually speaking, this movie's on point. Like that IMAX camera, that cinematography, that that feeling of you know giganticness, like IMAX aspect ratio expanding, like it just felt amazing. Like this movie is visually speaking so amazing, and the effects and the practical effects they were able to pull off in this movie with the inversion that a lot of people saw in the trailers was like mind blowing. Like the action was happening so seamlessly, and it felt like otherworldly, but at the same time it felt like it was in our reality. I've never experienced that in like a theater before. And like a lot of the scenes we saw in the trailer, like for example the plane crash scene was exhilarating, like with that IMAX sound just bursting through the speaker. Like it you felt like, holy shit, this is actually happening, like for real. Christopher Nolan is taking a 747 and crashing it into a real uh airport. Like look at this director, man. Like he literally takes a studio's like 250-300 million dollars and does whatever he wants with it. You gotta love that about Christopher Nolan. he gets to take a original concept, an original movie, and 200-300 million dollar movie, and just do whatever he wants with it. Like, there's very few directors who can get something like that to happen their way. I mean, you gotta just love it. And speaking of sound, the score is amazing. Usually you have Hans Zimmer doing the score for Christopher Nolan movies, but you had this time, I believe his name is Ludwig Grossinen. I don't know how you say his last name, but his score for this movie is absolutely exhilarating. Like, every single beat, like, it gets you in the right mood for the right scene. Like, the score was amazing, and a lot of people complained because the score was louder at points than the dialogue. And I gotta be honest, sometimes I couldn't hear a lot of dialogue as well. Like, for example, in the beginning, it actually kind of caught me off guard when the character started talking for the first time, and I couldn't actually hear what he said. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I gotta clean my ears real quick. All right, focus now. So I had to really well, I'm always locked in when I watch a movie. Like, I really focus on a lot of details, but this time it had to be like on another level because of not being able to hear the dialogue all the time. I was like, okay, gotta lock in. And Nolan talks about it. Like, he said, like, he wants you to understand the movie visually, pick up on visual cues rather than pick up the movie through dialogue. And the dialogue you are able to hear is enough for you to understand the movie. So if you don't get the central plot of this movie, it's probably because maybe you didn't hear the important dialogue. So anybody watching it this weekend, just try to focus as much as possible what's going on screen, pick up on visual cues, and pick up on as much dialogue as possible, because you're definitely going to need repeat viewings. And if you're able to watch this with subtitles, I mean, you're lucky, but definitely you need to, I feel like, watch this movie a couple of times before you get the central plot of the movie. And if I were to describe the central plot of this movie, synopsis, without giving away the whole thing, obviously we're going to do a spoiler talk later. You have this agent, CIA agent named the protagonist. So he doesn't really have a name in this movie, because my theory is his name is the protagonist because Christopher Nolan wants you to picture yourself as the protagonist. If you, as an audience, were a character in this movie, you would be protagonist because you are the one experiencing everything that's going on through his perspective. So so he's trying to prevent a sort of this nuclear holocaust, this World War III scenario, and you have him meeting these different peoples, these different paths that lead him down to a twilight world of sorts. That's pretty much all I can say, because if I say more about this movie, I feel like I'll be giving away some spoilers. So let's just talk about some of the performances. I love John David Washington's protagonist. This is my first time actually seeing John David Washington. I know he was in Black Klansman. I think the movie's name was, the Spike Lee movie last year. But I gotta check it out because I really liked his performance in the movie. He was really good, and I would love to see him in some more movies. Honestly, like, his performance, I felt like, with the action, because he was doing his own stunts. You gotta respect that, a guy who does his own stunts, and because he was doing his own stunts, it made the action way more believable. And yeah, the action itself, amazing action. Like, the fight scenes, the choreography, the stunt work, absolutely amazing. And Robert Pattinson kind of plays this character that's a little bit lighthearted, so he gives kind of this levity to the movie. And his name is Niels, and there's a very cool Easter egg about his name that I saw on Reddit, which I'll talk about in the spoiler talk. But I liked what he did in this movie. He was really good. And look, if I talk about his character even more, I feel like I would be giving away the plot. So all I'm gonna say is I really like Robert Pattinson in this movie. Elizabeth Debicki's character plays kind of a very central role to this plot. She's probably the most emotionally heavy character in this movie, as you get most of your emotional weight from her. And I feel like she did really good in this role. And just, overall, this movie was completely mind blowing. Like, after the credits started, I was just sitting there in amazement. Like, I wanted to clap, but at the same time, I was like, just so amazed and so like shell shocked after what I saw. I was just like sitting there trying to soak in everything in. Uh, yeah, I sat through the whole credits just thinking about what I just saw, and it was just an absolutely uh, amazing adventure. And this the criticism is going to be pretty much the same for this movie. It was a bit confusing for a lot of people, and it's going to be very confusing for some people. Some people probably haven't understood what happened in the movie, but it's the same thing as Inception. You gotta focus on the plot, and I feel like this movie is a little bit more confusing than Inception, so you have to sit back and watch it a few more times to kind of grasp what this movie actually is. I mean, you'll get the central plot, you'll get everything, but there's some stuff you're gonna miss, and you're gonna want to go back and watch it a second time, and then you'll pick up on it. I think that's great because a lot of directors don't really. We were talking about before the review. We recorded this review. A lot of directors don't like to challenge you. A lot of studios want to make these cookie cutter movies that have the simplest of plots, simplest of villains, simplest of dialogues, so the general audience can digest it easily. But Christopher Nolan doesn't want that for the general audience. He respects you as an audience member, and he wants you to take in uh, the experience, but at the same time, figure it out yourself. He'll give you all all the plot, all the theories and stuff like that, but you'll have to piece it together yourself. You'll have to come up with the answer yourself because he's not going to tell you. It's basically up to you. And it's not lazy because Christopher Nolan has talked about, like, he does this so because he has a concrete answer himself for what actually is the movie, but he doesn't want to tell you that because that pigeonholes the movie into a specific vision. He wants the movie to be whatever you feel like is the best outcome or the best theory that's proven to be true. So keep that in mind when you watch the movie, and like the movie says in the trailer, don't try to understand it. Just feel it. I think I got that dialogue correct. But anyways, just try to like just be in the moment and just be present. If you're a Nolan fan like me, you're gonna absolutely love this movie. With that, I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. Absolutely amazing, absolutely mind blowing. I highly recommend watching it. If you're hesitant about going back to a theater, trust me, you're gonna want to watch this in the biggest screen possible. I know that's like a cliche, like a lot of reviewers like say, but for a movie like this, that is actually true. You need to watch it in the biggest screen possible. So, yeah. And Ziggler, let us know what you thought about this movie.
I love Inception. I think that's Christopher Nolan's best film. It's his masterpiece. And this one, I would say it's probably his second best film, like right behind Inception. It's so good. And yes, sometimes like you said, like you can't hear, like you can't like fully comprehend, like because you can't hear what the characters are saying because the score is so loud, but you still kind of know what's going on. You still kind of know like what's happening, and he obviously did that on purpose. I just think the movie was really well made, and the visual effects, the practical effects were. I mean, this movie looks like no CGI was even like a part of this film. And I know that sounds crazy, but Christopher Nolan loves using practical effects. He doesn't like to use CGI all that much. If he has to use it, he will. But a lot of these looks like practical effects, and it's awesome. This movie was pretty much like a thrill ride, man. Like from the opening scene, you're in. Like, it grips you. It does not let go until the final scene, until the ending. And this movie was an experience, and you got to see it in IMAX because that's where you get the whole experience from, because he films it on IMAX cameras. We talked about this earlier. He's like the only director who fully uses the IMAX cameras perfectly. Like, no other director uses the IMAX camera like he does. And that's why he's a goddamn good director. And then pretty much he's the star of this movie because everyone knows that this is a Christopher Nolan movie. Like, Christopher Nolan is a visionary director and he's a master director. He challenges you and he comes up with these creative ideas and these creative movies that to be kind of like, be quite frankly, and it's pretty sad that we don't get a lot of that. We don't get a lot of those type of movies these days because they just want to give you like these cookie cutter movies that like are simple to understand. And even those movies, like they treat their audience, they treat us like we're little kids, like we're stupid sometimes. And Christopher Nolan treats us like adults, like you said. And he actually wants us he actually wants us to think, and he wants to challenge us, and I love it. It's totally unique to any other film. The inversion effects, outstanding. I mean, every scene where like the inversion happens, it's jaw dropping because it's so well done. The fights are so well choreographed, like everything. I think I saw like on Instagram like John David Washington like practicing his reverse fight scenes like that. Like, when they showed that in the movie, I was like, holy shit, like, it's incredible. And John David Washington was great in this. I loved him in Black Klansman. That was the first movie I saw him in. It was a great movie. He was so good in that, and he was really good in this. And I really hope he gets more roles because he's a damn good actor. And Robert Pattinson was great in it too. He's always great. Elizabeth Debicki, I've seen her in a couple of movies, and I think this is probably her best performance. I think she really gave it her all. I'm not gonna go deep into her character because that's probably heading into spoiler territory there. So I'll just say that for the spoilers. So just know I think she probably has like she has like the most character development. She has like the most character in the movie. Like, the emotional side of the movie is on her, and she does an excellent job playing that character. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think I have any much left to say. Well, you probably saw it. Yeah, you saw this in the trailer. I remember the trailer showed this like the theater, and like they showed it like the theater scene like a little bit.
They actually showed. It's funny. Like, they showed a very different version of that opera terrorist attack in the trailer, which we'll talk about what the difference was in the movie, but in the spoiler talk. But
yeah, there were like a lot of great action set pieces like that. I just think it was an amazing movie, and I'm actually happy like a movie like this exists, that it challenges us, and not a lot of movies do that. So it's just like a breath of fresh air whenever Christopher Nolan comes out with a new movie. I believe this is his second best. Inception is still number one for me, and this is a close second. I'll give this probably a 9 out of 10, like you.
Yeah, and like we talked about before we started recording, we both would love to see a sequel and see how this world, because the way Christopher Nolan, kind of went about this movie, it kind of ended it. It kind of left room for, I don't want to say sequel, but definitely like the world to be explored a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, even if we have like different actors in it, I would still want to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely, like, see different agents and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
And see them go on different missions with Tenet.
Right, exactly. All right, so that is our non-spoiler review for Tenet. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please share, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
scroll, so if we get it, either fight the night meal, fed, or sleep in as not girl must all in your village just nick the little and fat gray one. He see that he's down and full motion grows niggas half nil sabro yellow people so even it right stay up in your sabri merked up so he didn't saw on the like I should know then I'll get me. Yeah, I was think herish. Yeah, what else you know you did by those people. No, we're there.